Reddit user Abior, Abiior17 asks, how can I still make this a good summer? I'm going to be working as a hostess at a super busy restaurant and taking economics and English online for school. I turned 20 in August, so this will be my last summer to be a teenager. How do I still make it a good one? All my friends are back at their parents' since Corona, and because it's summer, I won't be seeing a lot of them. The pool at my apartment shut down, and because of Corona, I won't be going to a beach or anything anytime soon. How can I still make this a fun summer? Does anyone have time management tips or ideas, or anything about stress management? I don't want to be miserable all summer, and then go back to school in the fall burnt out. Any advice is welcome. Thanks.
Ooh, thank you for that question, Abior. Is that how you say it?
I have no idea, but that's how I did. Okay. So I chose to. We'll let them correct us.
First thing I want to say is you don't have to do anything differently when you turn 20. It's not like you have certain teen privileges that are about to get removed. So hopefully that can remove some stress. Entering that new decade doesn't mean like, hey, this is a teens only club. You're too old for it. I don't think anyone's going to say that. So you get to continue living out your teenage dreams a year delayed or 2 years delayed if you want to, summer or the next. 21 is actually, you get access to more things.
There is a lot of adult life that is spent acting out teen patterns.
Yeah. And that's okay. I don't know. Maybe there's someone in your life that thinks that's something that's just for teens, but I think that my experience has been people as a whole don't treat 20-year-olds that differently from 19-year-olds.
It's funny though because
expectations for them.
Yeah, it feels internal though because I totally understand what they're saying. I'm assuming it's a she because they said working at a hostess instead of a host.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a fair assumption, right? Yeah. So
yeah.
I definitely understand what she's saying though because I am, let's see, like 1 week from turning 30. So
well, 30, you do have to be different.
You have to stop acting like you're in your 20s. You can't just keep doing
what you're doing in your 20s when you're 30.
So
that one.
But right. So like there are these expectations of certain things that, now I'm maturing out of that phase in my life. Or just for me, it's more about wanting to kind of close the chapter of my 20s in a certain way than saying like, I can't behave like I'm in my 20s anymore. But like, I really understand that sense of being like, okay, how can I really like write the last chapter of this phase in a way that is like, triumphant or makes the most of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry. So what was the rest of what you were going to say?
I think that's all I have to say about the 19-20 distinction.
Right.
Next is I'd like to encourage her to set dates, protect time to do things just because they feel nice, like watching a sunrise or a sunset, and keep on the lookout for opportunities to get some of those feelings that if this was a typical summer and she had all the freedom that she wanted, she could do those things. It might not be every day, but like block out dates of, okay, here's 3 hours this night. I'm going to either go on a hike or play a game with my friends. I don't know whether they can see people in person. Probably, at least with social distancing, you could meet up outside. And
yeah, well, she's saying a lot of her friends are not still, I guess, where she goes to school or wherever she is. So she might not have that much access to her friends in person.
I would write a list of things that you've enjoyed in previous summers. What like defines summer to you?
Yeah.
And then look for ways to recapture those feelings with some modifications, perhaps, and let yourself mourn the things that are not as likely to happen or that don't happen at the end of the summer. But look for ways to recapture that summer magic.
Yeah.
What do you think, Morgan?
I think that's a great idea because summer is definitely a time where I feel a lot of magic. I feel like it's like the reason I bother living the rest of the seasons is so that I can enjoy being outside and feeling warm and wearing. Oh, okay. Here's something. I got it. So one thing that you could do is think about all the things that you are excited to wear when it comes to be summertime. So for a female like me, I should say, that might be wearing a sundress, or I like wearing short jean overalls, or flip-flops, or a bathing suit. So maybe something that she could do is to go online and buy a bathing suit. Doesn't have to be something expensive or anything, but just something that you're like, ooh, I'm excited to see how I would look in this, and, wear it. Do a fashion show at your house for no one, or, for a friend remotely. You could compile, okay, what are all my favorite going to be my favorite looks for this summer, and like model them for your friends and with your friends, and everybody could share, their favorite pair of sunglasses, their favorite cover up or swimsuit or sandals, whatever. That it's obviously kind of depends on that being the kind of thing that you enjoy doing, but that's just sort of one idea for, okay, what are the seasonal changes that come with summer, and what makes it that period of just like, I get to like go out and kind of be seen and be exposed to the elements and enjoy nature. Okay, what elements of that, as you said, can we still bring to the table, even though it may not be because you are all going to the pool together and you get to actually wear it in the pool, which there's no shortage of that being a bummer. Like, I really feel for you. Especially given what you said about the fact that you already have a lot of things that are encroaching on your summertime, like school and your job. So as you asked for also time management strategies, or I guess I think that one way to frame that is more of like, okay, what are the things that you can't change? You can't change that you've got to go to work, and you can't change that you've got to, spend some of your time in online class or studying or whatever. But like you said, how can you actually maximize the time that you spend not doing those things where you're on your own agenda? And so sometimes I feel like a thing that you can do for that is really being mindful of the balance of how you spend your time. So sometimes you might want to give yourself a structure so that you get to like, okay, today I've got 5 hours free, so I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do my FaceTime with friends, and really packing a bunch of things in that are fun and that you enjoy. Or sometimes it might just be, okay, I'm going to do one thing that I enjoy, and I'm just going to really make an effort to be present 100% of the time of it. And I'm going to take in the full spectrum of what my five senses are feeling in this moment. Because a lot of times we do things that are fun, but then we still aren't really soaking it up in a way that, actually kind of imprints it in our brain and gets us to think like, wow, I spent the day in a really fun way. Sometimes our minds are wandering the whole time we're doing it. We're not really present. We're on our phone, or, we're thinking about other things. So I think that one of the best sort of quote unquote time management strategies is just to be present for whatever amount of time you do get to have free. And I think that, the other thing I was going to say is my answer is so scattered. I'm sorry about that, but
no, you're doing good. I like it.
So in a balance too, from the like, okay, I'm going to jam in a few, like 3 or 4 activities that I know I really want to do. Choosing not to structure a period of time as well, where you can just kind of lean into being your own inner child and just let your sense of wonder or curiosity lead and decide what you're going to do in the moment. Like, okay, maybe you're going to finger paint, or you're just going to walk outside of your house and you're going to notice 5 different cool flowers that you see. Just really like leaning in hard to not being a teenager, because those things aren't necessarily like hallmarks of being a teenager, stopping and smelling the roses, but letting your inner child play, taking that side of yourself out and about in the world, and letting go of the frame of mind that you have to walk around in when you're at work or in school.
I think some little things you can do to remind yourself of summer and make it feel like summer's past could be collecting foods that are summery, like watermelon, anything like hot dogs, barbecued, those bomb pops or popsicles with the red, white, and blue on them.
Oh yeah, rocket.
Just that, like, yeah, rocket pops,
Yeah.
a little treat like that.
That's such a good
Pina
idea.
colada or other like iced sweet drinks. You don't need to have a pool, but it might bring you back to that state of mind and feel like a festive. Some way to recognize little acknowledgments of summer. A sparkler before dinner. Those little snap pops that you throw on the ground and make a pop noise. These aren't fully fledged fireworks, but those little snakes pellets that you light with a lighter and then a snake grows out of it. A summer playlist.
Yes,
of,
I was literally
songs
just
of
thinking
the
that.
summer past.
Yes.
You know, maybe it's Diplo and Moe's I just want someone to lean on.
Lean
that song,
on.
I think it's called Lean On. Yeah, that was a song of the summer in maybe 2015.
Yeah.
You were probably 14-ish then. That could be one that you go back to. Or maybe it's a throwback like Mungo Jerry's In the Summertime.
We're in the summertime when the river
With the weather's fine, you can stretch right up and touch the sky.
Whatever means
Make
summer
yourself
to
a
you.
playlist. Yeah, when you're on the way to work, or just to help you like reclaim some of that summer magic.
Yeah. I think those are great ideas.
Thank you. You can wear a bathing suit under your clothes at work.
Yes.
What?
Yeah. No, definitely. You definitely can. Something that I did yesterday with a different objective wasn't to like make the most of summer, but giving yourself a pedicure so that you love the way that your feet look when you're wearing your favorite sandals. But
okay.
I was also going to say, I'm surprised that she's still getting to work at as a hostess at a busy restaurant. And if you are getting to interact with people like that, you can bring that idea of how do I want to feel like it's summer into your interactions with those people. You could even ask them, like, what are you doing to stay, to keep having fun this summer? How are you celebrating the warm weather? I don't know where you live. I don't know how rare warm weather is. For us in Los Angeles, it's sort of a constant. But
You can kind of play a game with the people that come in, asking yourself, how is this person getting their summer on right now? Maybe they have a tan. Maybe they have their hair has beads in it, like they were on in the Caribbean and something. Maybe they like have a Hawaiian shirt on, and you can compliment people for the ways that, hey, you're really summering it up. Thanks for summering up my day.
yeah. And I think that the overall most important thing that a lot of what we're talking about is pointing to is that these external markers of summer are really just triggering a frame of mind. They're really kind of just trying to point to, as Rob said in the beginning, like, what does summer mean to you? Like, to me, summer is a time when friends are hanging out, it's gathering, it's just kind of feeling looser and maybe feeling freer to do different activities. Like if you're used to kind of a school schedule, summer is the time when you have freedom. And so how can you use your time in a way that makes it feel the most free, even when you're doing something that is, someone else's agenda, like you're in an English class. Okay. How can
you do
I
the online class in the sunshine?
Yeah. How can
Is there
I
a place
find
where you can
freedom
get sunshine
in this?
on you?
Yeah. How can I find my summer state of mind and my freedom within this predetermined activity? And then really soaking it up. Just letting yourself actually relax in the moments that you have to relax. Yeah. feeling the summer breeze, feeling maybe sand between your toes. I don't know how close to a beach you can get, but yeah, so make a list. Make a list of all the things that summer means to you and get creative about, okay, how can you still accomplish that in name, even if not in totality? Like going to the beach could mean, okay, I'm going to put on nature sounds of the ocean and wear sunglasses and sit in the sun and have bare feet. It's not the same thing, of course, and you have to give up on it being the same. If you have a seashell,
you can listen to the waves inside of the seashell.
Yeah. It's an invitation to get creative. Even though it sucks, and even though, you know, you're already busy with so many things, and it's like you don't want to. It may sound exhausting to be like, oh God, another project, versus like a season I used to be able to just effortlessly enjoy.
Something you can daydream about, though, if you have dull moments hostessing.
Oh, I have an idea.
What?
I would watch kids, observe kids. Kids just like run around and play all the time and just act like the world is their summer playground. So see what you can get out of just watching that kind of carefree, playful mindset exhibited in other people. See what attitudes you can hone in yourself.
There's an old Hungarian adage, the children know no winter.
That's so Hungarian of them.
Right?
So do we have any other last words for Abby Orr, or do we want to get the show started?
No. We threw a lot at her, though. Do you think we should summarize?
Nice.
Okay. Just kidding. No, I don't want to summarize that.
Yeah. No, I think we did move into like a summarizing place of saying like, figure out what means summer to you and find a creative way to go execute it.
Yeah. I was just reaching for the pun because the word summer isn't summarize.
I got you.
Yep.
All right.
Let's start the show. Free advice. 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 Would you like free advice? Free advice. Free advice. Free advice. Free advice. Forever. Welcome back, free advisees, to the honorary first episode of summer 2020. That was a firework.
That's amazing. When does summer actually start?
I mean, Memorial Day weekend is the spiritual beginning of summer.
The spiritual.
Honestly, though, I believe it's June 21st. I think it usually starts on the 21st of months.
Feels like summer to me.
Yeah. The first day of summer was the longest day of the year. I would have put that in the middle of summer, personally. I think all of the seasons start a little too late.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
This is definitely the beginning of summer.
I would like to shift that back. If we did a month or a 3-week retreat, what do you call that? Push-up? Anti-delay on each of the seasons, I would be happy. Started on the 1st of that month. Why not start summer on the 1st of June?
Right.
I guess you have that astronomical occurrence of, the sun being up for the longest.
Yeah, I'm sure there's stuff beyond just us and how we feel that made it the decision that it was.
Why can't it be at the beginning of a month, though? That seems like, let the complete month be in the season.
I mean, look, I agree with you. I've thought this for as long as I've had thoughts. It doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, because, well, okay, so as I alluded to earlier, my birthday is coming up, and I've always thought of my birthday as being in the summer, but technically summer starts, as you said, like late June. But I'm like, what? No, it's already happening. We're well into summer. Although, in fairness, I will say that like every time it's spring, I'm surprised how long it takes until it gets back into like full-fledged warm weather.
Do you feel like it's full-fledged warm weather for you now here?
Yeah, I do.
In Los Angeles?
I do.
Me too.
I do, at the end of May. But I do think it was a recent switch. Like it was not, the beginning of May, I don't think was full-fledged. But would I still call it spring? I don't know. If you guys have any input on what you think, how you think the season should be structured for the upcoming letter to our senator campaign we're going to run, you let us know.
Okay. How would, if you could change our system of keeping track of time in any way, would you change something?
Absolutely. I think the first change is just get rid of daylight savings time and the opposite of daylight savings time.
Yeah.
To me, there's no point.
I'm with you.
There's no point.
It kills people.
Do you support murder? What do you mean it kills people?
The week after people lose an hour of sleep, there's a lot more emergency room visits.
Really?
Heart attacks, shit like that, yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
I mean, plenty of things cause a single person to lose an hour of sleep at random moments, but just having one for no reason in the aggregate hurts the population.
Sort of like the statistic about left-handed people dying sooner, which I heard. I'm reluctant to admit the source that I heard this from, but it was
Jerry Springer.
No, it was Love Island. One of the people on Love Island was describing this. They were, I think it was a doctor, and he was basically saying like the reason that on average left-handed people have lower life expectancy is because the world is built for right-handed people, and so as left-handed people age, you know, you get clumsy, you lose your faculties, and you kind of just approach the world with less. Not a sharp judgment and precise physical movements. And so those mismatches in how the world is built and how you approach it as you age create that figure. So, yeah, it's a shame.
I wonder if it has anything to do with being less, to being more right-brained and that resulting in making less money or being generally less like civilized, like more of a creature of the wild. Left-handed people are kind of more creatures of the wild. I think that's safe to say.
Left-handed people are less civilized. Rob Zaleski, 2020.
Okay. Obviously, I'm speaking in generalities here, but like another way of looking at it is right-handed people are more like cut and dry and out of touch with their woo-woo side.
You're saying if there's a genuine correspondence to right and left brain strengthedness.
I mean, isn't there? Aren't there more artists that are left-handed?
I don't know. Both of my parents are left-handed.
I believe so. And you ended up right?
I ended up right. So I don't know.
Interesting. Well,
yeah,
we've got a lot of questions today, so if you're ready, I say we get back into them.
Let's do it. All right, so the next question comes to us from Reddit user Brightwood1. My parents think I'm faking about my migraines. Pretty much what I said in the title. I've been having migraines since May 2nd at the back of my head. I can feel it come and go, and I complained about it a while back now. Saturday I did the same, and I was feeling a bit better. I told my parents I was feeling better than yesterday. Then they got mad at me and saying now I'm faking. But I truly feel pressure behind my head. I got angry and told them if they don't believe me, then I'll walk to the ER if it happens again. Do you guys think that's the right way to go about it? I'm just very much upset they think I'm an attention seeker and a liar now.
Walking to the ER, I don't know. Could be dangerous. Depends on how long of a walk it is, what kind of obstacles come in between you and it, and whether that could exacerbate the migraine. I don't know if that's the right decision. Do we have an age on this person?
We don't, but I think that I can assume probably that it sounds like there might be a minor. So
pre-driving age.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you get your parents to take this more seriously?
Right. Yeah. Jumping in with one of the reasons I chose this question is because I was accused many times of being a hypochondriac by my parents, and I know how shitty it feels. It sucks to not be believed and to be made to feel like you're exaggerating something, or just the implication that you're not trustworthy. And so it's like, okay, so what are you going to not believe anything that I say just because you don't want to think that I'm having this physical problem? Or, you know, it's a very insulting place to be in, and it feels really hurtful. And I've been there, and it sucks.
So what can they do to convince the parents that this is really happening? I mean, my thought is look up stories of other people who have had migraines and then it turned out to be something worse. I think if you're concerned for your health, you should be able to see a doctor. Like,
yeah,
I wish that was something your parents agreed with.
Yeah. It's a really difficult situation because, yeah, like you're saying, they are kind of in the driver's seat about if any healthcare happens. Like that you're in this powerless position where you're reliant on them to take it seriously in order to get medical attention. And yeah, I think walking to the ER, again, depending on all those external circumstances, is potentially problematic. I think the problem to confront is why they don't believe you, or what about the way that you're presenting it makes it seem inauthentic. But it's hard because obviously you're bringing this issue to them when you're experiencing it. And I've never gotten a migraine, but ironically, my mom gets them, and you know, they can be totally debilitating. So maybe if you were to bring this issue to them at a time when you weren't feeling the effects of it, and therefore you weren't feeling as, sort of physically spread thin, maybe you weren't feeling tired or angry or any of those things, and you just said, you know, I want to have this honest conversation with you because it's really troubling to me that, you know, you're not taking my claims seriously, and it makes me feel like I can't come to you with things. But it depends on your parents.
Yeah.
That could initiate a really uncomfortable conversation that might get absolutely nowhere and make you feel worse. That's definitely happened to me as well.
My first guess, which is informed by my experience with my family, is that they might think that you're trying to get out of something. This is something my parents thought about my brother. Is that this is an excuse to avoid some commitment, going to school, going to, a test, whatever, camp. If there is a history of that, I think saying, like, if you've ever used a medical excuse, faked a fever to stay home from school, like admitting that and telling them that this is different, establishing a distinction, being like, yes, when I was 8, whatever, I pretended to throw up or gagged myself to throw up to stay home from, what would you be in second grade?
Yeah, I've done it. I've done that.
Like drawing a distinction between this and that.
Yeah.
Because this seems serious. Another thought is if you can't get them to help you, if you have aunts, uncles, grandparents, cousins, asking them for help and explaining that your parents aren't taking this seriously, sometimes just that their shame of not wanting to be seen as bad parents by the family could motivate them to be like, okay, we'll handle this because we don't want you reaching out and disturbing, having that reflect poorly on us.
Yep.
Those are my thoughts.
That's exactly what I was going to say next, is like to seek out someone else that you trust. Because they're not going to have the same sort of blind spots about it that your parents are going to have. And I did this exact same thing. When I was maybe I don't know, early high school or late high school, I went to my mom and I told her that I thought I was depressed, and she blew it off. And, I said I wanted to see a therapist, and she basically blew it off and said, you need to exercise more and take vitamins. So I went to my grandmother, her mom, and asked for help with finding someone. And then when she agreed to do that, then we went back to my mom and said, look, it's happening. So get on board. And I think that's exactly what was going on. I think it was the fear of being seen as a bad parent, but in both directions. The fear of being seen as a bad parent for not wanting me to get help, trying to minimize the problem. And then, now that it's been brought to this other person, it's like, okay, now I have to take this more seriously. Because I do think that, like, it's a huge shame that as a way, I think, of kind of living with your kids in general, but also controlling their behavior, that you kind of parents, over time have to desensitize themselves somewhat to what's going on with their kids. And then I think that leads to, them not taking them seriously. And it's also like, parents have this idea of their kids as being much younger in their heads too, I think sometimes, because they've seen them through all of those younger ages. And so I think that there is generally a tendency for parents to kind of belittle or minimize what their kids are going through, because in their eyes, it's like, oh, well, they see them as little, see them as much smaller, and maybe to some extent don't accept that their kids are growing and gaining more independence and being more able to advocate for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, this could be a fight that gains you ground that's worth it, even beyond migraines, because it's a way of asserting your adulthood, getting them to take you more seriously generally. And, fighting for that is worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also want to challenge the assumption that you're an attention seeker or a liar. I mean, I understand that it makes you upset to think that they think that of you. But, at the end of the day, it's important what you think of you. And the other thing that I think is sad is that we have this idea that attention seeking is a bad thing. We all need attention. We all need someone to look at our boo-boo and say, like, oh, that must really hurt, and let me kiss it and make it better for you. And to just sit with the hurt and feel someone's pain and receive attention when we're struggling. And I think that it's taken on such a negative connotation to, like, need help or to crave attention. It's something that we all need. It's completely natural. But yeah, people get infantilized for it, or, belittled for it. And just know, that you're all right in our books. And, how seriously you need to take this, because you're the only one that's living in your body. No one else can tell you that something is or isn't going on in your body, or that, that something that you're feeling is, not the case. So just let this also be a lesson. And, like, you know what? Sometimes I have to trust myself, even when it goes against what someone who I used to go to for knowing what was going on with me says it's not.
Yeah. Well said.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. All right. You want to jump into the next question?
I'm ready.
All right. Cool. So this one comes to us from EsmereldasHills. What a lovely name.
Yeah.
Just rolls off the tongue. How do you accept being just average? I'm not the smartest or the prettiest woman. How can I accept being average in appearance and intelligence?
First thought is pick a thing that you're not average at and smile at that. Something. something else.
Yeah. So there probably are, even though there are things where you experience yourself as average, there probably are things that you are particularly skilled at that you can celebrate. And I mean, this is corny as hell, but like we're all these unique tapestries of human beings composed of our attributes, our experiences, the ways that we approach life. You know what? I'm going to segue into that. I'm going to lean into that as being the crux of my answer. Because it's something I read recently. It's like, it's sort of less about like what we're doing, and we can really lean into how we're doing something. How do we approach the world? What is the lens through which we see things? And so, yeah, like none of us are ever going to be, we all have to give up the idea that we are somehow the most special, the most attractive, the smartest, the best at anything. Because even if we were, we wouldn't even know. It's just not possible. There's just too many people in the world, and it's sort of a childlike magical thinking thing that we have to give up that comes from, our parents conditioning us like, oh my God, you're the apple of my eye and you're just the most special, most adorable, most wonderful child in the whole wide world.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
And all these stories about the one, the special chosen one that saves the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and those are things that are exploited in media and, by people that love us. And it's great. We should feel special to the people that love us, and we should tell them that they're special to us. But part of growing up and, figuring out what really is our place in the world is letting go of the idea that we have to be the superlative version of anything. It's so much more about finding what subjectively feels good to us and like finding the right intersection of, okay, what am I talented about? What do I actually enjoy doing? What kind of things, skills and traits does the world need more of? And what's valuable about me? Like, it's the intersection of all those things where we find, oh, okay, here's my place in the world. And I think that finding our unique place in the world based on what are the tools that we have in our toolkit and what are the things that we are really passionate about cultivating, that's more important than, if we seek to accept ourselves as we are, that's more important than trying to walk around with this misconception that we have to be the best.
Yeah. You won't be the best in the whole world, but if you narrow the scope, if you're in a car with 3 other people, you might be the best at looking up restaurant reviews, or you might be the best at knowing a game to pass the time. You might be the best listener or interviewer to get somebody else to talk about something, or you might be the most sensitive to the temperature in the car. You get to pick your own thing, but like if you reduce the size of the groups, the like tribe that you see yourself operating within from moment to moment, you'll find that you are the superlative at something amongst that group of people. Maybe you're the youngest, and that has a certain, like, people like to be on better behavior around younger people, and it gives them some type of hope, and they like sharing their stories, makes them feel good about themselves. I think that the underlying question is, like, how do I play a role? How do I find a role for myself? I want to challenge the idea that you're of average attractiveness and intelligence too, because that seems to assume that there's one standard of intelligence and one standard of attractiveness that everyone falls upon. Like, in some situations, you will have the right type of intelligence. I heard one model that there are like 8 types of intelligence: visual, mathematical, spatial, athletic, musical, natural, like intuitive sense of what's poisonous and what's not, and a couple others that I'm forgetting. But it might not. School pretty much tests on spatial and linguistic intelligence, but that doesn't mean that you might not excel in some other thing, or just even having an interest in something that other people aren't interested in gives you a relative increased intelligence or increased body of knowledge on that topic.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great.
Specializing, anything to distinguish yourself, anything that you're a little more interested in than other people, you can lean into that, and then you will have that functional intelligence in the topic.
Right. Because you can demonstrate. I like to think of intelligence too as not just like, okay, what are the knowledge bases that you already have, like built in, like, software on a computer, and more think about like intelligence. When I meet someone and think like, oh, that's an intelligent person, it isn't necessarily because they're like hammering me with facts and all kinds of like things like that. Sometimes it's just kind of like I said before, like the way they approach a topic, or like just the fact that they're interested in a lot of things, or, it can be all these little nuances. So I don't know. I still think that in some way we're going around the question. Like, we're talking about things that they can do to feel more intelligent and attractive, maybe. But I feel like some of what we're missing is the essence of the question is just, how can I accept where I am and who I am? Mm-hmm. And that is like some people spend their whole lives trying to like earn their own self-acceptance. And there's like a simple answer, but it's really difficult, which is that you can just make the decision to accept yourself the way that you are. It's this underlying sense that I think pretty much everyone has or runs around avoiding, which is that we're somehow bad or unworthy or undeserving of love. At our core, this like fundamental badness principle. And then that leads us to going to all these different things like, oh, okay, maybe I'm bad because I'm not smart enough, or maybe I'm bad because I'm not attractive enough. And then trying to sort of fixating on those as the answers to this problem, quote unquote, this problem that we think we have, that we're bad or we're not enough. And it's really interrogating the question itself and like what is underlying that can help you kind of upend the sense that really any of those things need to be more or better in order for you to be acceptable. Like, we already are kind of put on this earth, and we didn't choose how or what or with whom we got put on this earth with. And I think that the happier that I am is the more that I recognize, like, oh, this idea that I'm not enough in these ways is just the way that I'm thinking about the fact that human beings come into this world anxious and striving and wanting to do their best and comparing themselves to others, and we kind of fill in the blanks about how to overcome that. But if we can just kind of relax into the present moment and open up the boundary between how we are being and like what's true in our heart, and like what that sort of fundamental loving, accepting energy is. We can see it when we regard other people a lot of times. Like, a lot of times it's easier to cultivate love or kindness or acceptance for others because we get this. That's where we can tap into the sense that like, oh, of course they deserve it because they're here, they're living, they're breathing, they're existing. So we can see that it's there for other people, and then allow ourselves to consider the possibility that we deserve the same consideration, and then just cultivating the ability to spin that energy to enfold us as well.
Yeah, I like that. You could practice like a non-comparative acceptance of any other living thing, preferably non-human. Look at a tree, look at a bug, look at a mouse if it doesn't scare you, and just think like, oh, this doesn't have to be. Am I upset at this tree? Is this tree unworthy or bad for being not the tallest or not having the most leaves or not being some superlative in its category? It's just accepting that and then trying to look at yourself with those same eyes.
Yeah. And the pathway to actually, going out there and growing and evolving, I think, is to accept yourself the way that you are. That's the first step to making any kind of changes or improvements or investing in yourself, is just to take your whole self with you on that journey by making the commitment to accepting yourself as you are. It's an extremely, it's theoretically very simple. And then in actuality, to practice it and live it and breathe it every minute of every day and actually uproot all the things that we do constantly that tell us otherwise, it's extremely challenging. But it does get easier when you practice it.
I suspect that what's underlying this question, if you're anything like me, is a feeling that you're not as connected to the people around you or as valuable to the people around you as you'd like to be. And that's what causes me to have these types of thoughts about myself, of focusing on averages or not being exceptional, and then trying to figure out a way to become exceptional or become okay with that. I don't have these thoughts as much when I feel like I'm a part of a group, people that care about me and I care about them, and we're interacting frequently, those social needs are being met.
Yeah. I think, I agree. I really like that you shared that. I do think that sense of wanting to be the most at something is this assignment we give ourselves because our ego thinks, okay, if I am safely securing my spot as the funniest person in the room, I'm always going to get invited. I'm always going to be loved. There's always going to be love for me.
Right.
That doesn't guarantee shit. Even if you are the funniest person in the room, you could also be the biggest asshole.
Yes.
There are no guarantees. We have so much uncertainty to just tolerate as part of the human experience. And we have these hella advanced brains that allow us to think about it all the time, and come up with extremely complicated justifications and explanations for everything. But what it boils down to is if you want to feel more loved, or if you think that being attractive or being intelligent is this ticket, this guaranteed ticket to love, you're ignoring the fact that you have the ability at any time to find more love for yourself. Whether it's within, kind of cultivating the practice that we talked about, or, other people coming in and out of your life that help to reflect that love back to you. We have within ourselves, our physiology, our brains, all the things necessary to make us feel love. It's just other people sometimes bring that out in us. And then we get nervous about our attachments to those other people because we think, oh my God, if this person isn't in my life anymore, validating that I'm this way, I'm never going to have access to that. But everything that we need to feel love is hardwired into us, and we often forget that. Yeah.
My short answer for how to accept being average is to focus on ways to do good things for strangers or other people that you know, and then that becomes. Then it doesn't really matter if you're average, because you'll feel good about doing those things, and that'll just seem more important.
Yeah, because you're showing yourself that it can be created. It can multiply. It's not just this finite source that we're all competing over. You don't need to be the best, the most attractive, the most intelligent in order to have access to those things. You could generate them for yourself. But I would also think that there are probably lots of things about you that would make other people think that you are attractive and intelligent. So you could spend some time changing your frame of mind and challenging yourself to think about those. The other thing that's built into our brains is the negativity bias, where we're always scanning for flaws, and we have to really actively work to uproot that and look for the things that are good about us.
Yes. This is, well, I don't mean to be heteronormative on the attractiveness issue, but
Go ahead.
If you're a woman who is interested in the attention of men, men are more interested in a broader collection of types of women, and men who like a type of women, a certain shape or style, tend to really like that. And I believe women's attraction to men is more focused on a certain, it's more unified on one type. So whatever you think is average about there's something that sets you apart. Maybe it's having really curly hair. Then, like, if you lean into that and let your hair grow out and let it be really curly, the people who like that will really, really like it. And you won't be average to them.
Yeah. I think that's a great addendum. And yeah, I do find that to be true. It's like, if you know what's really attractive about you or what's unique about you, it may not even necessarily be like attractive or unattractive, and you lean into that creates a different facet of attractiveness in you, because you're now someone who knows yourself well enough to know what to highlight. And that's an extremely attractive quality, knowing yourself well and showing off what you're confident about. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Well done.
I love it. Yeah, I would love to hear your feedback on if you try to practice or think about any of the things that we've suggested, and how that changes how you feel. So what do you think?
You can email us at freeadvicepodcast@gmail.com, or you can respond to us on Reddit.
Awesome. Do you want to take on one last question, or do you want to wrap it up?
Slip in another.
All right. Our last question comes to us from Reddit user LRacebeth _crims.
LRacebeth of Crims. Okay.
It could be iRacebeth, because it could be a capital I. The difference between a capital I and a small L.
It's tough.
So
I would redesign that if I was in charge. Always make the capital I have the little hat and podium stand.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. All right. So iRacebeth or LRacebeth wants to know, why do I feel I owe people an explanation? Whenever I'm not bubbly and sociable, people always ask me what's wrong. I know why they ask, but I usually feel the need to say something like, I'm just tired, or I don't feel good, instead of, I'm fine. Anyone else do this? Why do I do this? How do I stop giving people explanations when they don't need them? I love this question.
What do you love about it?
I mean, I think that it's something that we all relate to, whether it's because people ask us this particular thing all the time, or just like in any situation where we think that we have to give more information or justification to just be, in order to like make sure everybody else is okay. I'm not someone who experiences this exact problem where people are always asking me what's wrong and I don't want to answer. I will always be able to find something that I can talk about if someone asks me what's wrong. So that's to me, that just provides an opportunity to like unpack something, or just to say like, what's wrong? Okay, let's see what's wrong. You know what? Okay. All right. Here's my answer to this question. If someone asks you what's wrong, instead of going into something about you, which it seems like you don't really wish to do, to explain something about yourself, turn it back on them and say, what makes you ask that? And then get them talking about themselves. And then, if they're asking you what's wrong, it might be about them anyway. So sometimes you can, as obviously for me as a therapist or a coach, a lot of times people will ask me kind of personal questions or whatever. And I know that the whole arc of the session and everything we're there to do is about them. So it really doesn't generally help them too much for me to just offer a personal answer. It's generally a better practice for me to find out, okay, what does them asking this question about me have to do with them? And if your situation is that you would just prefer not to answer, or you feel like you get this question all the time and it's frustrating, it might be a good technique to just see how you can turn the question back around on them, get them talking about themselves, and then boom, you've avoided telling them, no, I'm fine, nothing's wrong. But that may not address the core of like the frustration about why do you think that there's something wrong if there isn't.
Yeah. One answer you could use is, what's wrong? Our cultural expectation for people to be happy all the time, as if there's a problem with experiencing a range of emotions and the dynamism that comes with the human experience.
That's a great answer. I love that.
Thanks.
I would bet that would leave them speechless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you could say that you don't understand yourself, and the human psyche is a tangled mess of serpents in your underberg. With the underside of your iceberg, which is like your subconscious. And you could try to guess why you're expressing yourself the way that you are, or appearing to be unhappy. But studies show that people are terrible at diagnosing the sources of their moods.
Studies show that?
Studies show, you give people a crossword puzzle or a word search, and one of the words hidden is Florida, and then they walk slower on the way out of the room. They associate it with old people, and then you ask them why they're walking slow, and they give you some bullshit answer like, oh, well, I'm tired from those stairs earlier, but you have the data that shows everybody walked the same stairs. Some people got Florida, and they're walking slower than, so people just make up shit like that to explain their behavior.
The people who got New York,
we all do,
just power walk out.
Away. Yeah, just jump out the window.
They just want to get out as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's not a 9/11 joke. Just to, I'm not talking about the people that jumped out of the upper stories of the Twin Towers.
I was wondering, what were you talking about when you said they jump out of the window? Just
like it's an extreme, speedy way to get out of there.
I got you.
It was not about September 11th, 2001.
Got it. Perfect. Yeah. So I think the other element of this question that I want to speak to quickly before we decide that we've done this person a great service by giving them lots and lots of excellent content, is the crux of their question is like, why do they feel like they owe an explanation for not being bubbly and sociable? And I mean, I think you did address it to some extent, where it's like some of it is just the culture. We're supposed to be happy all the time, or if we're not, we're supposed to pretend like we are for everyone else's sake, so they don't have to do any emotional labor of taking care of us or being there for a bad mood or rubbing off on them. And I think if you're feeling like in a social situation that's being asked of you to maintain this bubbly, sociable exterior, which I think is completely ingrained in all of us to some extent. Like, I feel it too. Like, I often, I'm extra smiley, and sometimes I am really just authentically letting internal joy show, but sometimes it does feel forced. And I would prefer to not have to think that, if I'm frowning or crying, God forbid, or pissed off, that's the person I'm talking to is not going to think that that's about them. So I think the reason why is like a sense of empathy for the other person's experience. It's easier, quote unquote, to deal with someone that you don't have to console or ask what's wrong. But then this sort of cultural prescription is, if we notice that something's wrong with someone, we have to, oh, what's wrong? And oh, what's going on? Like, and that may not be genuine either. So I think that what you're picking up on and observing in yourself is something that so many of us are, I don't want to say guilty of, because it's not wrong, but burdened with, maybe.
Can relate to.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think kind of the solution, if there is one, is to investigate what are your authentic feelings and make the effort to show them honestly, however you're feeling. And to just, before you leap into automatically assuring someone else that you're fine or trying to come up with an explanation, ask yourself, what is the simplest answer to this? Like, if the question is just, is it what's wrong? You could just say, nothing.
The human condition.
That's it. What?
Yeah. I said the human condition could be your response. I wonder if this question is really about privacy and setting boundaries. Like, if you feel like you owe them the true answer when it's somebody that you don't want to reveal, maybe you're upset about a rejection or just finding out that someone you had a crush on is happy with somebody else. And that's not something that you want to tell this person, but you feel like you have to allude to that. You could, a phrase that I practice pretty regularly is, I'd rather not talk about that right now, or I'd rather not think about that at the moment. If somebody asks me why I'm feeling a certain way, and I just don't with them, it's not somebody, or maybe there's nobody that I want to get into that stuff with. Just try that and see how that feels, to say it's not something I feel like talking about right now.
Yeah.
Like, giving yourself that permission, it's something you kind of have to learn. It feels awkward at first. Yeah,
it does. Because you will feel that pull that I think that you're experiencing now of like, well, I better say something. And so you're kind of just like, I'm fine, I'm tired, I'm whatever. But relaxing into that pull and just reminding yourself, like, I don't know this person anything. They're just concerned. They're just following their script. And I don't have to follow any particular script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, but it's hard.
Good work, Morgan.
Aw, thanks, Rob. Good work to you, too.
Good work to us, free advisors.
Yeah. Just L. Racebith or I. Racebith of Crims. I would like to know where Crims is, what Crims is, what the actual name is. But yeah, I would love to hear what you think about our suggestions, and if you try any of them out on someone, what feedback you get, what works, what doesn't work. Would love to know.
I'd love to hear about it the next time somebody asks what's wrong, what you do, how that goes.
Yeah. And I think that experimenting with different things and seeing how you feel is the key to eventually finding what the right balance is for you. So, yeah, write us with your experience if you feel like it. freeadvicepodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. That goes for any of our advisees.
Generous question askers.
Yeah. Thank you guys for giving your community the opportunity to help you. It definitely makes me feel good. I like coming every week and seeing how I can use my kind of presence or creative problem solving to try to help someone else out. It's a great gift.
Yeah, it is. We're doing good.
I meant them giving us the opportunity, but we're also great. We're also awesome. We're definitely also the
good.
most attractive and most
good.
intelligent.
We're doing good. You're doing good. 10 out of 10, everybody. Big high five.
Big high five. Fuck yeah.
Wash those hands.
Yeah. We are extending our socially distant hand wash high fives to everyone out there listening right into your ears. That good feeling, that crisp slap that you get
right on your
when
eardrum.
When the high five is
Cup
just
in the
lined
air.
up.
Right over the ear, airtight, hard.
Yeah, you're getting an unwanted hand earmuff.
I shattered my eardrum from that once.
Really?
Well, a friend shattered my eardrum. Yeah, it's a little
shit.
game called Whiskey Slaps where you take a pull of whiskey and then somebody slaps you. But
Specifically
if you get
in
the
your ear?
no, it's supposed to be on the cheek. But you know, aim isn't at its peak in this game. It's not the pinnacle of aiming.
Got it. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so watch out. Don't go in the ocean. It stings afterwards. The salt water getting in there. Ah!
Oh my God.
Give it about a month. It heals up and you hear everything fine.
Wow. Some bonus free advice.
A little bonus.
We wanted to treat you guys because you've been so good.
Oh, yeah.
Some post whiskey slaps ocean related aftercare advice.
Yeah. Next time Morgan will tell you about some of her hijinks at the end of the next episode.
Yeah. Sneak peek. All right, guys. It's been fun. Another hour well spent with you guys. We enjoyed it.
Hell yeah.
I hope you did too.
Building up a library. So, you know, you can always go back and listen to old episodes if this leaves you hanging, if you're wanting for more right now.
Oh,
Most of our advice is timeless.
Timeless. Completely
Except for
without
anything
time.
having to do with going outside or being around people that was recorded before coronavirus.
Yeah. Or sometimes people will ask a question like, I've got something coming up in 2 days. What do I do? And then we're
Yeah,
like, well, you're on your own because this episode comes out in 2 days.
Yeah. But maybe you, the listener, have something similar coming up in your own life in 2 days, and that it'll just line right up for you.
Yeah. Or you will listen to it and it'll just kind of wedge itself into the deep corners of your mind. And then years later in the future, you come across a similar dilemma and you can just dredge up that, what was that thing that Robin Morgan said on Free Advice about this exact dilemma?
That one slimy serpent in my underberg. Oh, there's its little tail. Pinch it between your thumb and forefinger.
Oh yeah,
wet.
accept yourself.
Yeah. Get back down there. Join the ball of snakes in my brain.
I like that was a through line. Your brain being a ball of snakes. That's good.
Don't thoughts kind of feel that way? The way they wiggle and you can only see one side of them at a time.
And sometimes they're venomous.
You can see also. Yeah, sometimes they're venomous. Sometimes they're just a stick.
That you mistake for a snake.
Yeah. Is that a thought? No, it's just a stick.
I love it. All right, guys.
All right, everyone. Good night.
See ya.